Hello producers, it's Özgün here. In this tutorial, I'm gonna show you how AndyG and I made the Phoenix track. We really appreciate for the support that they show to the track, and we decided to show you how we made this banger. And if you're ready, let's get into that tutorial. Alright, I'm gonna start with the drop now. If you still didn't listen to the track, just make sure to listen it first before watching this tutorial. Okay, I'm gonna play a small portion of the drop, then I'm gonna explain channel by channel how we made the drop. As you see, it's a hell of a big drop. So how we made the drop? First of all, this is a collab, so I have lots of stamps that AndyG sent me. So when you collaborate, the best possible option, if both producers using a different DAW, is to use stamps, right? That's why we decided that, since AndyG, I think, using Ableton. And now let's start with the kick and bass. We have 4 layers of kick, which is really experimental, but it works in this case. So it might look a bit weird, but it's working in the track. This is the main kick that we have. It's a techno kick, like saturated, but we didn't satisfy it, so we layered another kick. But without the sub-frequencies of it. Usually when you layer a punch kick to the main kick, you should do it small like this to not interfere with the kick. But in this case, we just like how it sounds in the, whole track. So that's why we just literally layered another kick top of that one. And to get more click, we have this as a top kick. And we have another top kick, which I'm gonna say experimental again, because as I remember, I was testing which one is better, so I just decided to use all of them together. Now it sounds like a big main stage kick. That's what we were aiming for. Okay, when we go to the group of the kick, all of the layers are grouping in here. I usually don't do this much complicated processing, but as I'm saying, this is really experimental kick design. So I thought there's no limits on that, and try to put top of that each other. So we have the EQ boosting the fundamental frequency. We have another EQ boosting like the low ends, upper bass area, I can say. And this R bass is boosting the second harmonic of the kick again. Again, 2 boost. One is in the punch, one is in the sub. And we have saturation to do overall kick. Saturation is kind of compressing and gluing the sound together. After that, we have the transient shaper to give a click to the kick. And then there's a limiter. So it's just squeezing the kick. It's kind of making the kick like mastered sample. We are making sure everything is in mono. And the shaper box, I think it's not even working. So yeah, this is the kick, which is rooted to a kick bass bus. But let's check the bass, and we can just check how compression working on them together to glue them. So this is the bass we have. It's originally a rumble. So it sounds like this now, but if you add some sub and a bit saturation and a bit EQ on the root and the fifth in this case, and even more saturation. So it's all about the shaping the kick and bass and make them work together. So don't afraid to make a boost like this even on the bass. If it sounds good, then you don't need to think about the rules. And when you play kick and bass together, it sounds like this. This compressor is just gluing them and adding a bit of like low mids, I think. Maybe I can say body. After you have this proper kick and bass, you can just build a track top of that one. Okay, let's go to the drop leads. So this is our drop lead that Andy just sent me the stem. It sounds like this when I turn off the processing. It's already really saturated and colored sound. Let's check the processing that we made in this project. So we have more saturation here, a bit EQ to, let's see, boost the 100 Hz. Like this gives a body to the sound. We have suit to like tame several of the dynamics. It's the dynamic EQ and a bit addictive EQ to give a body to the sound. And then sound is routing to here. And there's some OTT, some coloring EQ like surgery to fit it to the mix. And then this is for automation purposes. So we have stereo imaging plugin, some reverb, some delay. All of them is just for the automation and the effects of the sound. Let's see how the reverb's acting. In this case, we are using a delay and a reverb, but they are really small. The main reverb is this one. We just wanted to wash out the leads. That's why we keep delay and reverb at lower settings, and then we add the main reverb of the sound. And with this, like you can have this really wide effects. I think this is only for automation, and the clip control, like you can glue and a bit more saturate the sound. If you put it after all the effects, it's gonna make the sound so much bigger. But be careful if you do it too much. You see, I use it like 10% or something. If it's too much, it's gonna be so much distorted. Okay, this is the lead. And as you see, we are automating the reverb, to the main reverb, our acoustic reverb, to fill the gaps. And to draw the automations easy, there's a trick in FL Studio. You can double click the automation and give a minimum and maximum value. You don't need to be accurate and copy paste when you draw the automations curve. If you do that like that, just determine the minimum and maximum value in here, and you can just draw a curve like more accurately. And I think that's all for the leads. Yeah, the dry channels clipping as hell. I usually don't do that in my more recent tracks. But I think since we are in 32 bits, doesn't matter if you clip just a bit, you know, it doesn't interfere with the mix. Because you can just lower this value or this value, and it's gonna not clip anymore. Okay, we can just take a look for the drums, how they sound like. Like this is all the drums in the track. And if you realize when you mix the drums, just try to mix them according to your kick and bass, to your low end. If you have this kind of response, your mix is gonna be sound more balanced. And for the sound selection, those are just the samples, most of them. Some of them from my previous tracks. And there are no crazy processing on them. You can think like you can just use some big room sounds like this. And just combine it with some techno sound. Mainly this kind of techno drops, you don't need to have too much complicated stuff. Some bass shots, some effects. Just think like a big room track. That would be enough. So we have these acid shots. And we have this acid shot. This crowd noise, this is the FX section. Some more hardstyle sounds. The main step of the track. This is the fill acid shot. Another shot here. As you see, we are doing some bass shots, synth shots in after every 4 bar. Just try to put a different things, like introduce a new stuff. Then your track is not gonna be boring. So we have sweeps. And this is all for the first drop. The original break actually contains a vocal, which the label didn't like. They just suggest us to release without the vocal. But I can show you the vocals that we have.
An old legend tells the story of a bird which rose through its ashes. As it once died, so it was reborn.
So yeah, please let me know what you think about the vocals that we removed from the track. Okay, let's go talk about the break sounds. As you see, there's a main chord plug kind of sound just going all over from the break. And there's everything just built around that, this main melodic idea. So there are 3 layers of fourths. They have similar sounding, similar characteristic sounds. 3 of them just layering good. There's no exact sound that I can suggest you. Just try some super soft presets and try to layer them together and find which one is working with which one. Like the BPM, the key, the melody, everything is changing. You know, you cannot have the same stack and use it for all of your tracks. It's not gonna work. And in my case, I just like to try and test maybe 100 of different sounds and decide which one is sounds perfect. I'm doing them like without any FX. And after I like the layering of them, I like to put them in groups and process them. So this is my chain for chords. We have Camel Crusher for all the chords going to the same group. This intensity VST is kind of giving a color to the sound. We have OTT and EQ, that's all, nothing more. We have the reverb send, which we have a long 7 seconds of reverb. But the reverb chain is cutted from the lows and the super highs, so it becomes more clean. And it's side chaining with the compressor. And when the chords play, the reverb is ducking itself. So we have automation purposes filter, EQ, and the vocoder FX that you all know, and isotope trash to glue them together. This FX chain just affecting both the dry sound and the reverb sound. So this is gonna affect the whole chord sound. This is the only main melody layer we have. But in the second part, we have another stem from Andy, which is just like playing 1 octave up. supporting the chords. And even it's routed to the same channel with the chords. We wanted to give another boost, another like tension to the second part. We just didn't want to copy paste the same phrase over and over. And we have the reverse sound for the gaps. And let's go to main respace. Literally didn't touch the sound. We have the grid bass layer. A string pad. A Euro bass. Just wanted to give it a bit more boost with Camel Crusher and Thermal. So I was just testing this plugin. There are some cool distortion effects on them. And I'm making the Euro bass almost mono in mids and lows, so it doesn't interfere with the other elements. Making the low frequencies mono help you to layer another bass with two bass that you already have. So we have these FX sounds. And they all create a really nice ambient. Let's see, we have the vocal gate. And we have the break claps. Some drop fill that layered with 3 other fills. And as you see in the second part of the break, we are having the kick part. And that's all for the break. Only chords and some ambient sounds, bass, that's all. And after that we are going to build up, which is really energetic. I really like this track's build up. So we have this fade-in snare sample. And we have the kick build up in here. Just adding another low end in the last part of build up and like making the tension 2 times bigger. And we are fading out the current elements such as Euro bass. So we still have the Reese and everything going on, but the Reese already automated in volume when Andy sent me. I didn't touch and change its volume in the build-up. We have this LFO riser kind of sound. Which is having another reverb automation, so it's gluing better with everything in the track. The chords doing this while they pitch up. It's all some downlifters, some uplifters, and when you merge them together, when you pick the right sounds, it becoming a really nice one whole section. In this case, just make sure your risers are having the same pitch up curve. If you have the same pitch up curve for all the sounds, they gonna sound like only one sound. So the big room techno drops, the build-ups, I can say, it's not like you have a 1 bar fill and go to the drop. You usually have something bigger. In this case, we have 8 bars of pre-drop section, which we introducing the new leads because we are just having another lead in the second drop. Let me find that one for you. So let's see the new drop leads. And we are introducing the leads as a reverb samples. Just don't forget that one. If you are introducing a new sound, you should have something like this to prepare it. So it's basically the chord of the one-shot sample with tons of reverb and just reversing the tail of the sample. And you have this one. We have 2 layers of the leads, which first one is this one. The second one is this one. And I didn't even, use the reverb or delay to the sounds. It's just the AndyG stamps to me. It worked perfectly in the track. I didn't need to do anything fancier. The leads are like this, but we have a difference in the kick and bass. So the kick, now 5 layers. We have the hardstyle kick layer. And now our bass is not a rumble like in the first drop. We have this psytrance bass. The bass contains 2 layers. One is this one, the first one. Some EQ boost to fit it better and make it fat. And the second layer is the top layer. So we cut the low frequencies so we can layer it with the sub. And with the kick and bass, everything sounds like this. Let's go to the drums. We are using the same drums, but we have an addition, big room percussions. And other than that, we should have several more sounds, such as this one is a new sound. We have the same crowd noise and screech sounds and steps, but in addition to that, these big room steps now. And lastly, we have the hover, so it's kind of giving a big room feeling to the drop. It's a soft uplifter sound, but we have this processing on them, panning it left and right. At the same time, it has a transgate activated on that, and we don't need any low frequencies, and we're distorting it with annihilation from Camel Crusher and tons of big reverb. As you see, now the sound is totally transformed into something different. Let's go to the master now. So as you know, I like to master it on the project itself. Since it's mostly a STEM project, it's not that much CPU killer. So I could do the processing inside of the project. So we have this EQ cutting 30 Hz, like really low frequencies that we don't need, and cutting the really annoying hiss in the top end, but only cutting the mid frequencies. So I'm not touching the side information. Those are for automation purposes. We have the glue compressor going on. So it's compressing like 3 to 4 decibels. That's all you need for glue compressing. We have the ozone imager. We are making the low end completely mono. The low mids a bit narrow, this giving the track more power. And we are boosting the upper mids and high frequencies. And after that, I have a clipper that clipping to track like 6 dB. It's like my mastering maximizer, you can say. And that's all. My aim is to get like have -7, -6 RMS. If you see that in span without clipping, your track is probably gonna be so loud. As you see, there's nothing crazy going on in the mastering as well. Alright guys, today that was it. I showed you how we made the Phoenix track with AndyG. If you didn't listen to the track, just make sure to check the link in the description and let me know what you think of the track. Today that was it guys. I hope you can apply this to your own productions too. Thanks for watching. See you on the next video. Bye bye.